Today, on Spook Hunters, we cover the notorious phenomenon of the possible existence of ghosts as a part of the ongoing investigation to the question, are ghosts real? I'm Jaylene.
I'm Christian.
Well, let's get into it. So, what's up with the fascination with the supernatural?
Well, since the day we were born and throughout our lives, we've been exposed to the supernatural. Ghosts are a reoccurring theme in popular culture. For example, Casper the Friendly Ghost, The Flying Dutchman in SpongeBob, Supernatural, or horror movies like Poltergeist and The Conjuring. Or now the famous YouTube series BuzzFeed Unsolved.
Yeah, and then there's even religion. The first example that comes to mind is Catholicism and how they believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And those are all supernatural entities.
Yeah. So, culture, time back to culture, in Mexican culture, we celebrate the Day of the Dead, which, as in the name, celebrates the dead.
Yeah, so it's the belief that those who have passed on can now come back and interact with their loved ones for a day. So they're worshiping the ghosts and those who have passed on.
Yeah, and then one of the common Mexican folklores would be La Llorona, which talks about a woman who drowned herself and her 2 kids in a river, seeking revenge for her husband.
Yeah, and then even in American culture, there's Halloween. Which, you know,
well,
there's ghosts everywhere, yeah.
The topic of the existence of ghosts can be separated into 2 different sections, fact and fiction. Where you stand on the issue is determined by your beliefs.
Yeah, so jumping into fact versus fiction, one side argues that there is no tangible evidence behind the existence of ghosts and that they're the results of people's misinterpretations. On the other hand, we argue that you can't fully disprove others' beliefs and that the existence of ghosts is entirely possible. So, what can be defined as real?
Well, according to Google's definition of real, is actually existing as a thing or occurring in fact, not imagined or supposed. But is real really so black and white? Whoa.
No, I don't think real is so black and white, and science proves it. LSD would be one example. So if someone were to take LSD and they started seeing, you know, purple skies and pigs jumping all over the place, I don't know, crazy stuff, it doesn't mean that it's fake, because to them, their whole sense of reality is altered. Mm-hmm. So to them, it's entirely possible and it's entirely real. And then there's another example with lab rats. So they had... No, not the show. Oh. Just the rats. So they did this experiment with lab rats. And they had this rat try to go through a maze. And of course, the rat didn't know how to get through the maze perfectly the first time. So it was bumping into walls. And it didn't succeed very well the first time. It took him a substantial amount of time. But he finally figured it out. So then they had another rat go through the maze, but they transferred the memory from the first rat's brain into the next rat, and the next rat actually went through the maze perfectly because they transferred his memory into his brain so that he already knew how to do it. So if you can transfer memories from one rat's brain into another rat's brain, theoretically you could do it to humans too. So who's to say that we're not all living in altered senses of reality? You know what I mean? It's just, it's one of those things where reality is defined by how your brain interprets things.
You know, this is where it becomes tricky, when you have to decide what's real and what's not real. If you think about it, many skeptics believe God is nothing but a myth, whereas believers have devoted so much of themselves and believe in Him so deeply that they would willingly give their life for Him.
And love. There's really no way to say that it's real. It's a feeling. It's a belief. And it's one that many people believe in. What can be said about God and love can also be applied to ghosts.
Alright, we've been talking a lot about ghosts, but we never stated a clear definition. What is a ghost?
Well, the common definition of a ghost is that it is the soul or spirit of a dead person that can appear to the living. But there are many other definitions as well. Quantum theory, for example, says that there are 5 different types of ghosts. There is type A, type F, type N, type R, and type X. Type A are small balls of light, commonly referred to as orbs. Type F are the apparitions that are non-independent. Type N are specters, and they are semi-independent in nature. Type R are poltergeists. They take metamorphic form, they have sensory and extrasensory spectrum, and are capable of limited independent action. Type X are the entity, fully independent with a wide range of quantum-based abilities, often self-aware and sometimes called demons.
Not to mention, in the Bible mentions 15 different types of ghosts. The three that I can remember at the moment is evil spirits, good spirits, or God himself. For evil spirits, they pertain to demons, like as you said, or entities. Good spirits pertain to the purest of heart, and then the Holy Spirit, or God himself, basically pertains to those.
It sounds made up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, but in reality, 45% of Americans believe in ghosts, and 20% of Americans claim to have seen a ghost. But further than seeing ghosts, an object known as a Ouija board allegedly allows for human interaction with the dead. For those of you who don't know what the Ouija board is, it is a board printed with letters, numbers, and other signs that comes with a movable piece in which each player is supposed to put a finger on. Each player then proceeds to ask a series of questions to the supposed spirit. The movable piece moves to the corresponding answer, in which believers believe to be the spirit communicating with them. But why does it seem this piece moves by itself? Is there a scientific explanation for how the Ouija board works?
Yeah, science says that it is controlled by the ideometer effect, which is basically unconscious involuntary physical movement. But isn't believing that our subconscious has been turned into physical movement the same as believing in ghosts?
We've talked a lot about why the existence of ghosts is entirely possible, but let's take a moment to analyze why so many people believe otherwise. Skeptics believe that there are too many possibilities and interpretations of what a ghost might be or might be seen as. Moreover, it is commonly misput as it is a part of a person's imagination. For example, if, say, my mom were to die, and I would be in so much pain due to her recent passing that I would see her ghost, that I would see her spirit in person. So if I were to tell someone of my said encounter, they would push it off as I was delusional, or say that I was seeing what I wanted to see as some evidence that would help me quote unquote cope with the situation that's going on in my life.
Yeah, and this is proven by psychic investigator James Randi. He notes that
the ghosts that I've witnessed and that I've been exposed to and that have been offered as examples are usually the results of poor understanding of technology, of psychology, or of perfectly ordinary events that happen to us all the time and can be misinterpreted.
this is further proven by Bill Nye's theory that
happens to humans, our brains are so active. We imagine so many things, and we're always looking for cause and effect. That is to say, when you hear a bump in the night, you want to know what caused it. You want to know what brought it on. And the first thing you might imagine is that there's somebody or some entity out there causing this effect, the bump, but you can't see it. So then we intuitively or instinctively, for ancient reasons, put a pattern on it. We imagine it has an agent, as we call it, that there's something out there, some agent is causing this. But it could be the wind blew and knocked the candle over and there's no ghosts, and just to get over it. Don't be afraid of that.
The final main counter-argument is that there is no scientific evidence that proves ghosts are real. There are too many problems with the supposed evidence that often looks tampered with or recorded in poor quality.
what all this evidence has in common is that they all support the idea that the brain creates these scenarios and these images of ghosts in our head to try to make sense of oddities. That what happened in your head wasn't real. That you can't rely on other people's beliefs to be your evidence. That you need science. This is understandable, but as we mentioned, what is real is solely determined by what we believe. Ghosts are certainly a definable term. They are widely believed in. They are portrayed in various aspects of life. And quantum physics, which is a branch of science, supports the existence of ghosts. So yes, in a sense, this is supported by science.
All our lives, we're told what to believe in and what not to believe in. But now, it's up to you to decide what to believe. As for us, we think they're as real as the air we breathe. Hey fellow Edmouters, thanks for tuning into our very first podcast.
We look forward to making brand new and even juicier content.
But for now, click the link in the description box down below to check out our cool new merch.
And don't forget to like and subscribe and comment your theories in the comment section below. Spook on, spookers!